The Google Play Store or the Apple App Store on your phone to download the free app. Now you can listen live or play any of your favorite programmers' podcasts using your smartphone. Go to KMET1490am.com and download your free phone app today.
That's right. It's the morning show here on ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 AM. I'm Aaron Michael Sanchez. Good to have you with us. We got Mr. Jesse Sanchez in the booth over there, making sure everybody is behaving themselves around the world because we got some crazy stories for the day. Obviously, news updates going into the weekend. Be safe out there. There's new news about certain booster shots, which have been approved. Thank goodness, especially with the new variant strains coming out. Obviously, we need updates to that, especially for people roaming around and not wanting to get sick. Good morning, Jesse.
Good morning.
Yeah, so lots of news, lots of stuff going into the weekend. Any plans for this weekend for you?
This weekend, no, I plan to do some extra work at home, and since I just recently got a new apartment, I plan to pack all my stuff up soon.
Oh, congratulations. Awesome. Okay, glad to hear. So, Mr. Jesse Sanchez and his new apartment going to be kind of having fun with that. It's very cool. So, that means your mom has an extra room that I can move into?
Unfortunately, that room has already been claimed.
Darn it. All right. All right. That's the way it works, huh? Yeah. All right. Okay, so let's see. Lots of news stories. One of which I'm just going to kind of start off with because this was a really weird headline. Mom and daughter killed adult film actress with backyard butt implants, cops say. I read this headline and I said, I don't believe it, number one. I don't know how you kill somebody with butt implants, but the story makes sense once you read it. Jesse, when you first saw this headline, what did you think?
Oh my God, that made me. So many questions came to my mind. I'm like, what? Why would you do that? And then it's just like, why would you go to like some back alley doctors, or if they are doctors? And then once I saw the pictures of the people that are doing it, just straight away, it's a dead giveaway. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, and I'm just flashing that up on our live feed. If you're listening to us on the radio, make sure to find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Periscope TV, LinkedIn Live, and more, Twitter as well. And I will say, look, evidently a mom and daughter who pose as plastic surgery pros have been charged with murder after an aspiring adult film actress' illegal butt augmentation surgery turned deadly. This was in your neck of the woods, Jesse, Riverside. Libby Adame, yeah, you're welcome. I know you got to be careful with your area, Jesse.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
this came from Riverside?
Not joking. Libby Adame, 51. You might have seen them at the Walmart. Alicia Calas, who's 23, were arrested August 5th in Riverside, California, in connection with the death of a 26-year-old Carissa Rajpal, who died at a local hospital hours after she underwent the botched procedure. Okay, that in of itself is terrible. The LA Police Department told local outlets that the two women posed as specialists while performing the allegedly illegal procedure on October 15, 2019, and likely have operated on a slew of other victims. Oh man, Jesse, I'm telling you right now, if we need to throw up these faces again, because if you, in our own neck of the woods, ever came across these two, and they did butt implants on you, please go get help right now. Like, just go to the police station, say, yep, they operate on me, and then what do I need to do next? Because the LAPD Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton said these individuals have no medical training. They're not experienced, and they're putting people's lives at risk. After Rajpal suffered complications from the surgery, the women allegedly called 911 and then left her to die. So they knew what was going on, Jesse.
Yeah, that just makes it even worse. They're like, oh my God, what do we do? So let's just leave her here. That's horrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. According to this, they took people's cash, and we know in a couple of incidents it resulted in murder. Oh, a couple. This isn't just one. The L.A. County Coroner's Office ruled the aspiring actress' death a homicide due to acute cardiopulmonary dysfunction and intramuscular intravascular silicone injections. Detectives told local outlets that they had uncovered potential evidence in the case that suggests the pair used social media to advertise, oh boy, here we go, Brazilian butt lifts at a fraction of the usual cost. I'm not going to lie, Jesse. I never thought, okay, I know I have my own theory about butt implants with women, which is my own theory, but I never in a million years thought somebody would die from a butt implant procedure. Does that make sense?
Right? I mean, how, that's just like, how do you say that? Like someone died during a butt lift. It's just like it's something that you wouldn't combine together. It's so weird, but it's just like I don't know what goes in someone's head to do a surgery like this. So I'm not a woman, so I don't know.
Thank God, Jesse. Thank God. Um, I can't see you as a woman right now. I'm not, no lie, but okay. So my point is this, and this poor young, girl. Okay, granted, no judgment on what she does for a living, but at the same time, I'm looking at this and I'm going, oh my God, she is so young. The one that actually got the implant, Jesse, is, I mean, she looks like a young girl, to be honest. She didn't deserve this. That's number one. Number two, you kind of go, okay, how did this happen again? It makes no sense. But what's sad is it did happen. Here she is. That's the woman who died, or I want to say young lady who died. Before her death, Raj Paul appeared in a video posted on social media that appeared to show her undergoing a procedure for butt augmentation. That footage has been incorporated from the LAPD's investigation of the botched operation. Investigators said that they suspect the women injected Raj Paul with a cocktail of substances used by qualified cosmetic physicians in addition to other dangerous chemicals. Hamilton said they were mixing them with chemicals and other substances that clearly are not appropriate for any medical procedure that would be performed on a human. Police told local outlets that Raj Paul had come to the United States from South Africa to pursue a career in the adult film industry. The augmentation procedures that led to her death were preceded by two others allegedly conducted illegally at a home in Encino, California, last September. Oh boy, oh jeez, this is like going around, Jesse.
Is this like a new thing? I mean, I don't do a lot of social media or like a lot of Facebook, Instagram. I don't know what people use nowadays.
Yeah.
So is this like the new thing?
Yeah, well, it's been a new thing for the last I want to say 3 to 4 years, because I have some friends, which I was like, how did their butt get that big? And I thought, okay, because it's sometimes how do I say it? And in a way, and this has happened on the red carpet, I've seen it. I'm like, they're disproportionately sized. Does that make sense? Like, it's like, that's way too big. Like, does that make any sense or not really?
No, I know what you mean, because there are times where like there's like a super skinny girl and then it just looks like completely unnatural.
Yeah, it's like boom, like whoa, whoa. And especially if you've known them before that, you're like, how did that happen? So you kind of think about it. I know I've thought about it with a couple friends. I'm like, okay, but then I just completely ignored it because I didn't know what butt implants were for a long time. And then I saw, because I thought they were like silicone things, like you kind of put like a little, you know what I mean? Like you open it up, put a little like padding there, and then you walk away. But there's so many different ways to do it, evidently. Some do the fat injection, some do evidently, kind of like that silicone little, which again, I'm just going to go back to this. If it is cheap to do it, and it is cheaper than most other places, buyer beware. Seriously. Hamilton said that investigators are examining other potential victims and their relatives who may have had loved ones disfigured or killed after undergoing procedures conducted by the faux specialists. But I guarantee you, these aren't the only faux specialists around, Jesse. So this is like a PSA to all women. I don't know if men do this, but all women that say, just hold on. I mean, it's like back in the day, I'm sure breast augmentation when it was in its first infancy. There's situations even since then that there are bad like surgeries, but you go to a trusted person when they're going to open up your body. You go to a trusted person. It says some of these victims may have not survived these procedures, and that's what we are looking into now. Oh, man, this. You know what? I want to flash these people up again, because if these ones are in our neck of the woods and they've been like rolling around for quite some time, Jesse, they are mentally unwell, Jesse. And I do not have a problem saying that, because not just one victim, possibly more victims, this needs to be called out, right?
Exactly. And Rosalie says there's a difference between butt implants and BBL, which I did not know. I honestly don't know anything about these things. So,
I have no idea what BBL is.
oh, that's about the Brazilian butt lift.
Oh, Brazil. Yeah, but this was, again, so this is kind of a combination of the both. I don't know. But it says this, a day after she was arrested, Adame was released after posting, oh gosh, she was released, $1 million bail. Oh, so she had the money. According to another news outlet, her daughter was also released on bond 2 days after her arrest and is set to make her first court appearance on December 8th. So they're still out there, Jesse, which...
Are you serious? They're still walking around?
Which I don't know that they should be allowed that, being that they have done this knowingly and then doing it again and again. I don't think they should be allowed. I think when they put the $1 million, like, they probably didn't think they'd come up with it, but evidently they did. So somebody better get on top of this. Here's another interesting story. Popular Instagram model regrets illegal butt injections. Okay, so there's a host of people that once they've done it, it's like, oh no, regret. So I feel we're gonna have like a PSA someday about this. I'm not gonna lie, I have my own opinions about it, but they're my own opinions, okay? And I know I'm gonna offend somebody that's probably gotten butt implants and say, well, whatever, and you know, because people get upset. But if it's going to cost your life and or your butt later, sometimes people don't think of repercussions down the line. They really don't. Like fat injection, they go, well, it's my body, so. But you know, let me give you kind of an idea on that. If you put fat, you reassign it from one portion of the body to another portion of the body. Does that mean that it's okay for your body to work with that fat? Jesse, what do you think?
I'm going to say no.
Let's talk belly fat, right? Because typically they take from the belly fat and they put into the butt, right? They reassign it. So it's like, well, it's still your body, this and that. But here's what people are not considering. Mm-hmm. Belly fat, after some time, especially in men, can grow hard and rigid. And if you've ever seen this, like certain people, when they get older in life, the belly fat actually becomes hardened. And because it becomes hardened, like people are like, punch me, it doesn't hurt. Because it's kind of like an encasement of fat. If fat doesn't get burned through the body after so much time, it actually becomes hardened. Now, having said that, if you put that into your butt and it never leaves your body, what do you think is going to happen in 20, 30 years with your butt?
Your butt will be bulletproof. I'm sorry. That's the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like, okay, I see what I'm going here. You want me to become bulletproof? I gotcha.
Boom, boom, boom. Okay, but my point is this. Okay, people, look, I get where the phenomenon came from. Ever since Miley did her twerking, and since twerking began, right, Jesse? You make sense now? That's when it really took off here in the States. So
makes sense.
Yeah. Now it started as like the Brazilian butt lift because the Brazilians, of course, tend to, at least on social media, you've seen it to where you've seen, okay, a little bit, bigger than normal. Now, I will say to the fitness trainers out there that actually work on the butt naturally, that is a much better way to go about it. Although it does take more work, it's a better way to tighten and tone the butt or the buttocks, which is technically a muscle. When you have more fat on it, you create problems for your back because of the weight of it. So, it's just basic anatomy. But anyway, there you go. I'm sorry, people. Yep, I knew it. Rosalie would comment on that. She says, yes, men do it too. Anyone that holds a license can technically do it, even in the medical field. So a dentist can claim to know how. So many women are fooled into it. People that want to do this need to investigate the doctor. Also, some women want that fake extra, so they tell the doctor to do that extra, and the body can't handle it. But if the doctor listens to the patient, then he's not the right doctor. Yeah, look, it's a procedure that, look, I'll go back to breast implants. Very simple. We know a lot of information about breast implants. How many breast implants recalls are there in the world of breast implant surgery? And now I'm not against breast implants, because I've known like cancer victims that get mastectomies, and they actually it's recommended that if you're going to get a mastectomy, that you talk to a plastic surgeon before they go and just remove the breast. It's recommended 100%. I remember seeing a documentary on that. I said, okay, note to self, if I ever meet that, then that's important, because sometimes they just go and they take to remove, and then they sew it up, and they don't really think like a plastic surgeon would. So people don't even know that you can do that. And as some women would go, upgrade, because some would want in certain types. I've had this conversation, oddly enough, and I'm like, oh, interesting. And some are very, like, you wouldn't even notice. Others are very noticeable. And there's all different versions of it. But I say, if you're going to put anything or do anything to your body, make sure to add a little extra for investment. It's kind of like a home. Do you want to go with the cheapest contractor for your home? But we're talking your body. You only got one. You get what I'm saying, Jesse? Don't do 2-for-1 deals.
Right, you don't want to shop at the Dollar General for your body.
Exactly. No 99-cent store doctor, okay? That's my point. So my point is, I get the butt implant situation, and I get it, because everybody wants to look better than what they are. And as a dude, I totally get sometimes I look at my pectoral muscles, right? And I'm like, okay, I need work on that. But having said that, I still am not the kind to go under surgery and go, okay, give me fake pectoral muscles. I'm just not going to do it, right? That's just me. So value your body a little bit more, people. And then if you're going to do it, try to go the natural way. And if you're going to do it with a specialist, make sure they're a good specialist. Do the reference checks. And don't end up like this poor young girl, which I'm just going to, I mean, she had her whole life ahead of her. Again, I say don't judge what she was doing necessarily. But she was kind of going, and I'm sure she has other friends that know this story, or maybe don't know this story, but she just wanted, to enhance certain features of herself. It starts like that. But now she's dead because of it. What a terrible way to go for her. And it's all because of these two weirdos, and I'm going to call them that, because they've done it again and again and again. And they're in their own backyard, Jesse. So I don't know what kind of jail time they're going to get, or if they're just going to claim stuff, but buyer beware. Buyer beware. That's all I've got to say about that. All right? I don't care where you sit on the subject. It's not worth dying for. The fact that you get, I mean, there's even dentists that actually, too much anesthesia and all that. So there's certain ones, that go really crazy, and we've heard of that. Like I think Joan Rivers, right, died because of a situation with dentistry. So any type of procedure, you have to make sure to do your research on. Okay, so that's my recommendation. That's the PSA of today. We do have good news, by the way, about the young boy, which we showed a couple of days ago. Ivan Molina got found. So I'm gonna balance that with this. He got found last night. Thank goodness. It was reported by Pasadena News. Altadena boy missing since Monday, found. Ivan Molina was reported missing after he left Elliott Arts Magnet Academy in the 2100 block of Lake Avenue about 11 a.m. Monday. But he was found. Yeah. So Thursday evening, last night. So officials announced shortly before 7 p.m. that he had been located. And Deputy Sean Dubuski of the Sheriff's Information Bureau said in a written statement, "Thank you to the public, the media, Aero Bureau, and deputy personnel for their tireless efforts in the search for Ivan." So that is a win. We need the win. We'll take it. Good job, Ivan. We're glad you're safe and sound. Don't go missing again. Wear one of those like tracker watches so we could locate you no matter what. Okay, we'll be back with more right after these messages. Stay tuned.
You see, Rosalie's asking the question that I asked. Where was he?
Oh, yeah, right. I know. I do feel they need to update the public. Because we stress out. I stressed out the moment I saw it. I saw it on Instagram. And I'm glad they post on Instagram. And I will say this. Sometimes it's important, although we don't know, even sharing on social media, you do not know how much gets out there and then circles around to whoever had him in the first place. I guarantee somebody had him and probably let him go, or came up with some story like, oh, I thought you knew, but might have done something else if it didn't get as much attention as it did while he was alive. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, it does.
Because we talked about John Walsh, right? And we talked about the whole other story of the young girl, right, who unfortunately was found, and the autopsy proved that she is dead. Yeah. That situation is still, I think, ever developing, right? But
yeah, they still haven't captured that dude yet.
Yeah, but that led to us talking about John Walsh, talking about a situation here. And you never know when one person says, wait, I know that person. Or I saw that reported somewhere. Or, I mean, I hear it all the time. And then I hear, like, you know, follow-ups of something maybe that we shared and somebody shared it on their social media and then it got shared with somebody else. And then it's, you know, I hear of those things from time to time, and it warms my heart. It reminds me of why we do this sometimes and why we cover certain types of stories. Gabby Petito, that's her name. I'm not saying we were responsible for him being found, but my point is sometimes when these things get shared on social media, like I saw it on Instagram, to be honest, because I think I'm following LA sheriffs or maybe it was somebody else, but we were posting it. But you never know when a share might save a life down the end. You never know your input or your ability to spread the information through social media, right? Thank God we have social media.
Right, because you never know who will be looking, listening, watching, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. You never know. I remember being in the hospital with my mom in Monterey Park, and I said it, and I posted it, and lo and behold, there was somebody that worked there and says, whatever your mom needs, I can help her. I was like, oh, thank you. Sometimes people wonder why I post things. I go, because you never know who's around the block that might be able to help. And it's a small world. I've talked to people. They go, we should connect. And then all of a sudden we connect, but we're already connected on one of my cats. I'm like, oh, look at that. We're following each other. So it's a small world in social media, if you know, with what we do.
Here we go.
Welcome back. It's the morning show here on ABC News Radio KMET 1490 AM, where we appreciate each and every one of you for spending time with us here on the show. We appreciate much, and because we do, we want to, of course, share the good news, the great news, and the weird news, and we can do all of that in less than an hour. That's what we do. This is the latest, and this is much better than nothing happening at all. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have endorsed an independent advisory panel's recommendation for seniors and other medically vulnerable Americans to get the booster shot of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine 6 months after their second dose. Dr. Rochelle Walensky, director of the CDC, also partially overruled her agency's advisory panel in a notable departure by adding a recommendation for a third dose for people who are considered high risk due to where they work, such as nurses and teachers, a group which the panel rejected in its recommendation. Which I'm telling you, there are some stupid people out there. Some panelists said that without further data, they weren't comfortable with automatically including younger people because of their jobs. In a statement announcing her decision late Thursday, Walensky pointed to the benefit versus risk analysis she had weighed and data rapidly evolving. Now, I am going to say this. I'm not against certain people who say, you know what, I feel like I need more information before I get a vaccine. But I will say this. with the latest variants that are coming out and are already here, I should say, like the Delta. You know there's a Delta Plus, Jesse.
I think you mentioned this, but
Yeah.
every time you mention Delta Plus, I keep going to like Delta Airlines. So
I know. I think the same
so
thing.
that
Yeah, and then there's Gamma coming up around the corner. There's I think Mu already here, and there's Lambda. Okay, but thank you, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, for doing the right thing. She said this: in a pandemic, even with uncertainty, we must take actions that we anticipate will do the greatest good. While today's action was an initial step related to booster shots, it will not distract from our most important focus of primary vaccination in the United States and around the world. With Walensky's final sign-off, booster shots will now quickly become available for millions more Americans at pharmacies, doctors' offices, and other sites that offer the Pfizer vaccine as soon as today. So that's important. All right. So basically, they're saying, look, we sign off on this. We approve of this. We feel that they should get this. Please get these circulating really quick, because they add to the fund of getting these things made. And that's sometimes the situation that a lot of people kind of go, what, who's at the control booth here? But the reality is, if you're 65 and over, you are technically more prone to a problem than not, especially if you have a bunch of other related situations. So that's the Pfizer one. I can guarantee you the other ones are coming out very soon with information about that. But just so you know, there you go. The nation's largest union of registered nurses pushed back against the U.S. Centers for Disease Control. I told you, the Centers for Disease Control usually go back and forth. They he and ha all the time. That's why I don't listen to the very preliminary stuff until they get like a bunch of people at them. And I always go, why do they act like that? Because they act more like government. Because they are a government institution. That's what people need to understand. That's why they kind of like, which again, you gotta say, okay, we need more information in order to make a proper decision. But they kind of he and ha until finally they're proven beyond a doubt, oh, we should have been doing that all along. That's why I kind of wait to see what they're gonna say. But this is what happened. Let's see. So the nation's largest union of registered nurses pushed back, calling not including frontline workers like nurses in its recommendations unconscionable. National Nurses United is urging CDC Director Rochelle Walensky, which is what she did, thank you. But this was the information up until then, recommended and add nurses and other healthcare workers to the list of eligible booster recipients. Because they only have so many, by the way. Very important to say that. So they have to narrow it down. Nurses and other healthcare workers were among the first to be vaccinated because of their high risk of exposure to the virus. Why leave them out of booster shots? That was according to the union's president, Deborah Berger. Deborah said it is unconscionable that ACIP would not vote to keep us safer from death, severe COVID, and long COVID. Funny that she say that because they're actually true. It's separate things. We must do everything possible to ensure that the health of our nurses and other healthcare workers will not be put even more at risk. They voted Thursday to recommend that a third Pfizer dose for people aged 65 and older, as well as those as young as 18, if they have an underlying medical condition, that they have the availability to get certain shots. So there you go. Now, I know some still don't want to get a shot, and again, that's up to each and every person. I feel that again, there's a lot more information that needs to come out regarding certain types of shots, because they're not all created the same. That's why they're different manufacturers, and some report a higher problem days after than others. We heard that especially with the Moderna one, but then they go, okay, but you're fine now. But I say, yeah, but more research needs to be done on why they reacted in such a way. And I think in the next coming months, we'll probably see that information coming up around the corner. From my mother, it was very important that she get the Johnson one, or the Johnson & Johnson one, and she did fine after that. There were no severe problems from it. But having said that, you have to do the research before you get any one of these said things. So always be careful, always be ahead of it, and then understand what you're going to do next. Okay, that's what I say. Sometimes it takes a little bit more research, but go with your thinking mind, and then go with just what makes sense to you. But do some research before you do. All right, people, we're going to take a quick little break. We'll be back with more right after these messages. Stay tuned. All right. What are you researching, Jesse?
Hobby Lobby made the news.
Who?
Hobby Lobby.
Not again.
Uh,
Hobby Lobby only makes the news when they do something stupid as of late. Do you remember the Hobby Lobby news that happened last year?
I believe so. I think God wanted them to stay open during the pandemic.
Yeah, that's what they claimed. And it was like, and they were fighting everything. Them along with the churches that I'm just going to go back to. I called out certain churches for making people go back when it wasn't safe to do so. And because of it, even some pastors got it and ended up dying. Because they would say, we can heal you. I'm like, okay, that's the dumbest thing since sliced bread. Like, you're making people go to church because you can heal them, but you yourself were not able to heal yourself because now you're dead. But this is the type of absurdity we listen to. But I have a feeling this Hobby Lobby has a better news article. Jesse?
I don't know. I think it's funny, but I think it's funny. You gonna search for it?
Yeah, I am. What's going on there?
Apparently they purchased something. I personally think they shouldn't have purchased it, but they purchased something and now it's being returned because it was stolen.
Oh, no. I don't know if God's upset or...
You're reading the title. Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, I will say this. I do like Hobby Lobby. I'm just going to say that as a preface. I like Hobby Lobby. I don't hate it. I didn't know the founders were very, 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 very religious. I had no idea, to be honest. But Hobby Lobby is a really fun place to go to. And if you don't know that, you need to know that, just so you know. So I'm not against them, okay, at all. Until you... And then I go, okay, I'm going to call you out on that. Just as
Okay,
I would appreciate somebody stupid stuff if I did stupid
20
stuff.
seconds.
Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, it does.
what goes around comes around, right? But evidently, they had something of high value, which I kind of am. I love this type of history. So I'm actually intrigued about it now.
Right.
I didn't even know they had this.
Neither did I.
That's right.
That's
It's
right.
The morning
It's the
show
morning
here
show
on
on
ABC
ABC.
News Radio KMET 1490 AM, where Jesse Sanchez is checking the news headlines. And Jesse, what did you find for us?
Oh God, what could Hobby Lobby do next? So apparently, the U.S. formally returns ancient artifact purchased by Hobby Lobby to Iraq. So apparently, the U.S. officials on Thursday formally returned the Gilgamesh Dream Tablet to Iraq after the Justice Department had deemed that it entered the United States contrary to federal law.
Oh,
Tablet is a treasure to the world and will now return. It will now return to its home. Okay, my thing is this. In what mind would the whoever owns Hobby Lobby is all like, yeah, let me purchase that off the like black market auction. I'm pretty sure this didn't go off. This thing didn't go off in an actual, like legit auction. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah, I do. I see what you're saying. I will say, this is interesting. First of all, it looks pretty amazing. I was gonna say freaking cool.
It really does. It looks really cool. It's something that it just looks like a giant stone tablet.
Yeah, right. It almost looks like a state of like, I don't know, Oregon or something. But the only way I could describe it to a radio audience, if anything, it looks like a goldish tablet of like special writing. Let's look at the history of what this is, shall we, Jesse? Like, I feel like, history show coming on right now. The U.S. will return. It's a 3,500-year-old clay tablet. That's an old tablet, Jesse. That predates.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know it was that old.
That's
Okay.
BC.
Right?
All right. Owned by craft retail chain Hobby Lobby stores to Iraq after the Justice Department concluded It was stolen around the start of the Gulf War and sold illegally in the U.S. market. Okay, I get that. So they probably bought it. Well, let's go back to this. The Gilgamesh tablet, which features inscriptions in Sumerian, is considered one of the world's oldest religious texts. In 2014, Hobby Lobby bought the item. Okay, they did buy it, and they had the money to do it, which I'm not going to lie. Sounds like they did it right. For $1.67 million to display it at the Museum of the Bible in Washington. So they didn't like hide it away, Jesse. That's
Yeah, that makes sense. But my thing is, it's like, did they buy it at an auction or like some underground illegal auction?
Well, yeah, let's see. Which was started by the retailer's billionaire founder and chief executive officer, David Green. Okay. Now, let's see. The Department of Justice said in July that the item, which was seized from the museum in 2019 after concluding it entered in the U.S. contrary to federal law, would be returned along with about 17,000 artifacts believed to have been taken from Iraq in recent decades. It's estimated that the tablet was looted from an Iraqi museum in 1990 and introduced into the U.S. in 2007. Oh, they have proof. That's a whole other story. This is what, okay, you ever see the movies where they go and break in and get like art pieces and or certain areas like worth millions, and then they somehow get somebody else to buy it for a certain amount of money? You ever see those movies?
Yeah. But are you telling me if you're going to be spending that money, that amount of money, are you telling me that they couldn't do like a background check on it to see if it was legit? You know what I'm saying?
I see where you're going with that, and I'm not against that.
I mean, if I had the money, I'd straight buy it right away. I mean, it looks cool.
Yeah, the tablet is scheduled to be returned to Iraq at a Thursday ceremony at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, according to UNESCO. Hobby Lobby didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. I would be like, "Where's my money?" That's what Hobby Lobby, which has collected biblical artifacts for more than a decade, agreed in 2017 to forfeit thousands of illegally imported items and pay a $3 million fine under a settlement with the Department of Justice. Oh. Okay, so they not only paid $1.67 million, they then paid a $3 million fine. That means somebody knew something about something. You know what I'm saying, Jesse?
You see, it wasn't bought legit, because if it was, they would have paperwork and all this other stuff. They would have had like some providence on where it came from.
Yeah.
No, probably went to like some back alley underground auction or something. And yeah, we have some ancient artifacts we stole.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Homeland Security Investigations got involved as well. So it was a huge thing. And you never want to make Iraq upset about certain items. But I will say this, okay? I don't know where Hobby Lobby's like founders, what they knew or what they didn't know. However, having said that, there are things that exist on the black market that when you can prove it, okay, like, I don't know what movie I want to say, but I want to say, like, there's movies all the time that come to my head of where you have, like, a museum, they break into the museum, they take it, and then you wonder why did they take it to begin with. Usually because, like remember the movie Hellboy? Do you remember in that movie, Jesse? They had, like, a bunch of artifacts, and then the artifacts have little mystical things come out of them or something, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think sometimes people think that's going to happen to these items, but I will say I want to know what the inscription is of this $1.67 million, and why do they call it the Gilgamesh Dream Tablet?
Oh, because it probably has a portion of the story of Gilgamesh. Do you not know who Gilgamesh is?
Wasn't he... Go ahead.
No, from what I remember, he was like an ancient Sumerian king, and he's like part god. And then there was a lot of cool stories with him and his friend Enkidu. So I know like the basis of Gilgamesh and stuff. Great story.
So according to this, the Epic of Gilgamesh is the oldest recognized epic poem. Part of its stories are mirrored in the Hebrew Bible. The tablet is written in the Akkadian language and cuneiform script, a system of writing on clay used in ancient Mesopotamia thousands of years ago. Now, this is, let's see, shows a section of Sumerian. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to research this because this type of stuff that fascinates me when it is related to the Bible and then some, because you're able to have further proof that these things are ancient, that although they were rewritten and rewritten and rewritten, that a lot of it was more true than not. This is like stepping back in time to a time where you're like, no, it exists. Especially here on this earth, that's called like history of our own earth. That is so important to research. So we're going to take a quick little break. We'll come back with that in a little bit. We'll be right back with more right after these messages. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I'm surprised you never heard of Gilgamesh.
No, I've heard of Gilgamesh. I just don't remember, because I remember there was a story of like Noah, and then there's other stories of Noah as well around the world, but not called Noah. He's referred to like, you know, like there's stories about the deluge all around like ancient Asia, India. They all have their different versions of a deluge story, right? Having said that, which kind of proved to the point, like as stories get told far and wide, when you see certain things kind of line up, you go, okay, it obviously happened, right? Now, some would call that like modern day global warming, right? Like all the glaciers melted. When did the glaciers become glaciers and soak up the water from the land, right? Nobody thinks about that. Like, you know, did it get so, like, just the science of it, right? To create a deluge. And then, of course, when did the glaciers begin forming in North and South Pole, which actually helped, in essence, dry up the water from the rest of the land. Does that make sense? Like, the water's got to go somewhere. Where does it go? So when it freezes on the North and the South Pole, that helps land exist. Otherwise, if they all melt from the North and the South, where's the excess water going to go when it's not in hardened form? Does that make sense? So,
yeah, it does.
So it's important for the glacials to exist on the North and the South to be as cold as they're meant to be in order to dry up the excess water. Otherwise, we would be covered with water again. Almost guaranteed. If you take the amount of water that when they melt, right? So it's almost like, thank goodness we have the North and the South Pole to have those glacials be as hard as they are. Otherwise, the majority of high places on the Earth would be covered in water, right? Nobody thinks about that, but there it is. There's the science of, deluge could have easily happened just from science, right? But would there be a people that survived that, like there will be a people that could survive if, like in 1,000 years, they melted and we're back underwater? Like, watch Waterworld. That'll give you an example.
Oh,
right?
my God. Get out of my head. I was just about to say that.
Were you going to say that? So
I was like, this is Waterworld.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, so I love the history, and I love to think about, like, multiple facets of it, because some people go, okay, faith is overrated. Others go, well, faith is important. And then you go into, like, tablets like this, and this is written form, not scrolls, which are easily burned and or
20 seconds
due to certain oxygen can wither away. This is tablets written on, which is one of the ancient form of history, just like Cairo, Egypt, right?
Yeah.
So when you
5
go
seconds.
back to that and you see what's in it, it's pretty cool.
Here we go.
.com.
Welcome back. It is the morning show here on ABC News Radio KMET 1490 AM, where we're joined by Jesse Sanchez on this interesting story. The Gilgamesh Dream Tablet. It's been referred to as several things. We talked about Hobby Lobby evidently owning it illegally. An ancient clay tablet displaying part of the story of a superhuman king has been formally handed over to the Iraq by the U.S., known as the Gilgamesh Dream Tablet, which is a 3,600-year-old religious text showing a section of the Sumerian poem from the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's one of the oldest works of literature and was looted from an Iraqi museum during the Gulf War in 1991. Now, over the past 30 years, it's been smuggled through many countries, accompanied by false documents, until just 2 years ago it was permanently displayed in a museum near the seat of the U.S. government, which, again, was owned by Hobby Lobby, right? But Hobby Lobby's like, darn it. See ya. But at least you could say you owned it for a bit, right? Right, Jesse? At least.
Right? At least they could say they owned it for a bit. I mean, I'm just surprised we found out about this now.
If anything, I would be like, did it give you fantastic dreams and or other things, right? Like, but it's a clay tablet, okay, which again is important. And if you can date it back to 3,600 years, that is history that people don't understand. That predates even the Jesus of old, right? But here's what it is about, and I think this is the interesting story. The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the oldest recognized poems. Part of its stories are mirrored in the Hebrew Bible. The tablet is written in the Akkadian language in a cuneiform script, a system of writing on clay used in ancient Mesopotamia thousands of years ago. Scholars discovered it in 1853 when a 12-tablet version was found in the ruins of the library of an Assyrian king, Assur-banipal, in northern Iraq. The events revolve around King Gilgamesh of Uruk, an area corresponding to southern Iraq. Now, the myth is based on a real king who ruled sometime between 2800 and 2500 BC. I say their numbers are wrong because if you say 3600, it doesn't make any sense, right? So obviously, I think it was before that. But the story goes like this. King Gilgamesh was a demigod of superhuman strength whose powers were inherited from his mother. Makes sense. The moms always pass on superhuman strength. Accompanied by a companion, a man raised by animals, he killed the bull of heaven, representing the violence of the gods, and tried to discover the secret to eternal life. Well, that's everybody in the Bible. Even Jesus said that, eternal life. You get what I'm saying about that? So, obviously, some people go, okay, that's obviously fake. But you go, I don't know. You have faith. So, there you go. In another adventure, he swam to the bottom of the sea to collect an immortalizing plant, which was then stolen from him by a serpent. Makes sense. It almost reminds you of like the whole, Adam and Eve story about, the tree of life, right?
Honestly, if you start reading these ancient stories and stuff, you'll be shocked at how much of it will feel similar, because a lot of it's like, it feels like some people took the stories and then merged it into the Bible.
Yeah, but technically the Bible predates this, based on Moses writing even the first 5 books of the Bible. So, but it's not wrong what you're saying. It's kind of like a pick-me-up story, right? Kind of like in Marvel story, you have different adventures that take part later. But let's go back to this. So it's very interesting. The Dream Tablet recounts a part of the epic in which the hero describes his dreams to his mother, who interprets them as announcing the arrival of a new friend who will become his companion. She tells him, his strength is as mighty as a lump of skyrock. You will see him, and your heart will laugh. Okay, so she had prophecy in her head. I get that. In another column of the tablet, a woman takes Gilgamesh's companion to a shepherd's camp for an adult encounter, if you know what I'm talking about. So, let's see. This is okay. And then more happens from that. This story doesn't go into the whole thing of it. But evidently, some think, okay, so where do we get the Bible situation, right? King Gilgamesh was a very important man, and he was such an important man that people actually told his story again and again. But as most like pharaoh gods or king gods, sometimes the information would be a little bit more bigger than life than others would know. But instead of this being more like a fictional tale, this was actually a story told among ancient Hebrews. Ancient Hebrews actually know of the story of King Gilgamesh, also known as, they would pronounce it differently, obviously. Gilgamesh is like a very plain translation of his true name. But people understood that while he was very powerful in his mind, he was also powerful on the earth, having been able to do certain things that other humans were not, just like certain pharaohs of old were able to do certain things, which are written down in the Bible. For example, when Moses threw down his stick and all of a sudden it became like a snake, and the other ones were able to do theirs into a snake, that is like an ancient form of mystical practice of Egypt, which is technically, some would say, oh, that is like, hologram stuff, because how the heck can a snake turn out of a wooden carved object? So people kind of go, okay, back to reality, how can that happen? Come on. But having said that, there are people that experience hallucinations, but the question is, did they experience a shared hallucination? Who knows, right? So here's the question of the day. Did it happen, if at all, and do you care to know? I say yes and yes. because when these things were written, they were written at a time that other Israelites or Jews actually walked the earth around the area of Assyria. Now, Assyrians and Babylonians and Mesopotamians and ancient Israel would often go to war with one another. However, when the Babylonians ended up overtaking the Jewish people, it was found before that and after that that certain kings, including King David, worked with Babylon the Great. Look it up. The point being is, these were all stories or tales of a time that existed, just like our time exists now. But imagine 3,300 years into the future, if there were not certain things written about some of us, we would kind of go around kind of missing, meaning nobody knew you and or I existed. Do you understand, Jesse? There are no stories or social media or electronic means to be able to disseminate information. We're just kind of, well, who knows, right? But there will be stories of presidents. There'll be stories of people, very large and true, but they just don't talk about everything except, I'll give you an example, Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan is known for having his wife often consult a spirit medium or a psychic. If you don't know that research, go look that up. But he did do certain things based on what the psychic would recommend or not recommend. Having said that, no different than ancient Egypt, consulting magic practicing priests that could divine and or look into dreams like Daniel of old in Babylon. Weird, right? But my point is this. Everything has a way of making sense when you realize what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and what should make sense. Anyway, having said that, have a great weekend, whatever you're doing. Remember, life is worth living. And if you got a little bit of faith, have more faith. I guarantee we'll get through this together. Bye-bye, everybody.